Welcome back to Kidsplaining. My name is Daniel, and this is a parent's guide to being a quest master. Now, today we are talking about Quests of Yore, based on the Pixar movie Onward, published by the Op, who helped sponsor this video. And the reason that I went to the Op to see if they would partner with us on this video is because this is our first ever RPG that anyone in our family has ever played. And our experience has been so amazing. I hope that this game acts for so many families as the gateway into this genre of games that it was for us. Now, if you've never played an RPG, if you're not familiar with that, it's a little different than, not a little, it's a lot different than a normal board game. In a normal board game, you have a board on the table, you can look at stuff, there's kind of visual stuff that tells you what you're doing. You have action cards to draw from. The game is determining what you can do and what you can't do. In this game, it's all imagination. The whole game lives in your imagination. This is a narrative-driven game where players are working their way through a story, they're going on quests and adventures, and they're making independent decisions throughout the game on how they're going to handle the situations that they encounter. But there is one very important role that needs to be filled, and that is the role of Questmaster. And that's what this video is all about, because the idea of being a Questmaster for my family personally was so intimidating. So this is going to be a two-part video. Video one, we're going to go through what it means to be a quest master, what your responsibilities are going to be, just kind of what your job is, and taking on this role of quest master for your family or for a group of people. Now, this, for my personal experience, it's for my family, so that's how we're going to address this. But obviously, if you're playing with a group of friends, something like that, it's going to be the same. But the second video is going to be how to actually do all the stuff, how to build dice pools, how to set up confrontations, things like that. And we'll put chapter markers, we'll put marks below for all of that, and we will put links to the second video so you can find that. But this video is all about what it means to be a quest master and why this has been such a rewarding and great experience for me. Now, if you do any research on being a DM, now in Dungeons & Dragons, it's a dungeon master. So this is Quests of Yore, so it's a quest master. But if you do any research, like if you're new to this, like I did, and say, hey, I need some tips because I've never done this before, you're going to see a lot of stuff about costumes and creating an experience, and you need to do voices, and you need to have snacks and kind of set the mood of the room and just make it an experience for your players. And that's great, but I don't do that. I'm not ready to do that. I haven't done this enough to get into that space. I don't do voices. I don't even like doing this. Like, this makes me uncomfortable. So doing voices and turning our game table into a theater, it's just not going to happen. But all of our quests have taken place at our table with the overhead lights on, in our normal clothes, no costumes. Again, no voices, no getting into character. I might go up and down a little bit for a character just so they can kind of tell that I'm reading different parts. But despite all of that, which according to the internet would make me a pretty bad quest master, every quest we've gone on has ended with the kids asking, hey, can we do it again? Can we go on to the next one? And it's, no, let's wait. But they always ask to play again. So despite my poor, official quest mastering, apparently we're doing something right. So that's what this video is about, is just my experience, and hopefully you can have the same experience. So as the quest master, you are the one that guides the players through the game. You will have to make decisions and rulings when there's conflict or a result is unclear, and as the quest master, your ruling is final. You won't be actively participating as a character the way the other players will, but you will take on the part of side characters at times, so you get to read kind of parts in the story. And even though I don't get to be one of the characters, I still have so much fun leading this story for my family. As the quest master, you will be using the Tome of Quests, which is basically the storybook. So that's how you're going to take your family on the adventure. So within the Tome of Quests, there is the prologue that's going to kind of get everyone familiar with the characters. It's basically the training stage of the game. And then after that, it's a 12-part story that's every chapter builds on the previous chapter, and but it's all a story. The Tome of Quests is, as a quest master, this is your key to the world. You are the only one that gets to look at this. No one else gets to read it. Don't let anyone else read it, because this has tons of spoilers. It has all the spoilers. So no one else reads the Tome of Quests. As the quest master, this is your book and your book only. We'll talk more about exactly how to use the Tome of Quests and how to go through all that later. But for now, we're going to talk again about what it means to be a quest master. The reason I'm doing this video is because I know that this is going to be just as intimidating to a lot of parents as it was for me. This is not an open up and play kind of game. The rule book, it's the advanced player's guide. What they don't tell you when they tell you to go read the advanced player's guide is that there's no basic player's guide. This is the rule book. It's pretty long. You don't have to read all of it before you start playing, but you do need to read quite a bit of it. And then there's prep work between sessions. So before you actually quest master a session, you're going to need to read ahead, kind of skim through at the very least what's going to happen so that you're prepared for it, so that you can have the story flow, so you're not constantly stopping to say, okay, so well, let me look and see what's going to happen after this. So there is going to be prep work before each session, before each quest that you go on, but it is so worth it. And the imagination experience that this game drives is amazing. And remember, as I go through all of this, this was my very first experience ever doing this. I've never played D&D. I've never been a DM, nothing like that. I opened this box and I learned everything I know from what is in this box, from what is in front of me right here. I'm not an expert. I'm just a dad that has cherished this experience with my family. So let's talk a little bit about how a quest actually works. When you do a quest, the only thing that the players have to work with is what you as the quest master tell them. You'll be reading from the Tome of Quests, presenting a scenario, and then encouraging them to talk through what they want to do. Again, unlike a normal board game, they're not going to be choosing from action cards that they have in their hand or a set of fixed choices. They're going to tell you what their character is going to do or going to attempt to do, and then you're going to take these dice right here and you're going to assemble a dice pool based on their character's specific traits, and then they're going to roll and see if they were successful or not. Sometimes other players can help them and they can work as a team, but this is all taking place in their imaginations. There's no board, there's no deck to draw from. It's all up here in their imaginations. It's all in their heads. The other players don't even get to see the Tome of Quest. Remember, they don't know what the story is going to be. All they know is what you tell them. And luckily, this tells you pretty much everything you need to tell them. And the great thing about this kind of the RPG type of game and just experience is that it's flexible. You as the quest master get to feel out what your players are wanting to do, what their kind of strengths are, and you get to change the game and create side quests. And obviously you have the main story, but in the kind of in between the main parts of the story, you can do whatever you want. So for example, in our first game we played, Jared is the wizard in our group. And if you've seen the movie Onward, you know the spell Aloft Elevar, and he really wanted to use Aloft Elevar, but there was nowhere to use it. There just wasn't an opportunity yet for him to do it. But every time we said, hey, here's something that needs to be done, and we're like, hey, let me use Aloft Elevar. Not really the time for it. So we just kept having to say, that's not the right thing to do here. And that's kind of, this was really early on. He got comfortable with that. But anyway, as we were going through this quest, there was a place where the players had to cross a slippery log that was booby trapped. And if they fell off, they were going to fall into a river. Now, in the story, it's basically just a creek. If you fall in, the consequence to falling in was you have soggy clothes and you're uncomfortable for a little bit. But I saw this as an opportunity to let Jared have some fun with it. So Peyton was the first to cross, and he rolls the dice and he falls in the river. So instead of saying, okay, well, Peyton is just wet now and kind of stands up and crosses the river, when Peyton fell in, I said, oh no, Peyton can't get his footing. He's rushing down the river. He needs some help. What can we do? And Jared jumped in and said, oh, Aloft Elevar. And I said, yes, do it. What are you going to do? Here's your dice. Do it. Great. You used your spell, you lifted Peyton out of the water and put him safely on the other side. That wasn't part of the story in the book, but that was something that we were able to kind of create a little side experience so Jared could do something that was so rewarding for him. It was so much fun. He got to use his imagination and we just got to kind of flex the story. And again, you can do that in this. There's no points. There's no right way to do this other than to, like, the main story has things you have to do. It has achievements, but in between that, you can do whatever you want to make this a good experience for your family and to just have fun with it. So I think that's enough convincing, and hopefully I have you on board now. So let's talk about how to actually play. As the quest master, you're going to have to do some reading. This is the advanced player's guide. And like I said before, there is no basic player's guide. This is the rules. You don't have to read the whole thing before you start, but you do need to read the first 2 chapters. Chapter 3 is all about character creation, which is really the first thing you're going to do with your group if they don't want to use the pre-made characters. And this does come with 4 or 5 pre-made characters. So if you don't want to make your characters, you can use the pre-made sheets. This is one of them. Everything is filled in. It looks all scribbled in, but that's just printed on there for the just for the theme. And this is Barley's edition. If you've seen the movie, you get the Cheeto puffs and all that. There's little printed Cheeto fingerprints all over the stuff. The theme in this is awesome. It's built in. You can see kind of Barley has taped little notes for you on notebook paper inside of the book and inside of your little Questmaster shield here. It's great. I love all of those little touches in it. So if they want to use their pre-built characters, they can, and you can just get right into the prologue after you know how to actually do everything. So I'm not going to go into a bunch of details about creating your characters. Chapter 3 does a good job of walking you through that process. And again, if you don't want to go through that process, use the pre-made character sheets. If you do decide that you make your own characters, which is what we did because everyone wanted to make their own characters, then you need to set aside a time to do that. This is going to be your first real session as a group, and each player will pick a species and a type of character, and then they're going to fill out their player sheet. And one thing we ran into after everyone created their characters was realizing that some items were character specific. So Jared really wanted to be the savant so he could use the magic. That's the wizard character. But he didn't realize when he was making it how limited his use of weapons would be. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. He just didn't understand when he was going to be a wizard that he wouldn't be able to use a big long sword. And that's kind of one of the things with this is realizing with your and immersing yourself in that. Because when you're playing the game, you don't call people by their actual names. You're supposed to call people by their character names, which is really awkward. And I don't do that. Like, it's going to tell you to do that. I try to if I can, but I'm constantly correcting myself. But the point is for you to get into this character, for your players to become their characters. So wizards don't use swords. They have staffs and they use magic, and the defender doesn't use magic. He has a big sword and a shield. So just be aware if you do go through the process of creating characters that what they choose is going to limit their options later on in the game as far as item cards and things that they can use. That's just make sure you know that. Make sure they understand that as they're picking their characters. And the way you can check that, kind of if you want to look through the items and get familiar with them, these icons down at the bottom tell you who can use these. And each player sheet, the player sheets, if you do create your own, are type specific. So this is for a defender. It says it right here too. And you can see this icon down in the bottom. So this card can be used by the defender. It can't, the wizard, I think the savant is a stack of books, so it can't be used by a savant. The savant can't use a hunting bow. So again, that was just one thing that it was a hiccup in our process once we got all our characters made, but then realized, I can't use certain things that I want to use. So just something to be aware of. So once you have your characters ready, whether you choose to make your own or use the pre-made characters, it is time to go on your first quest, which is going to be the prologue, which is kind of a practice quest. It's going to walk you through really easy things. It's going to teach you how to do combat. It's going to teach you how to discover traps and investigate, all of those things that you're going to need to know how to do as you go through the story. In the second video, I'm going to teach you how to actually do all the stuff, how to make dice pools, how to use cards, how to use the Tome of Quest, because we haven't gone into any of that yet. How to set up for battles and just everything that you have to actually do during a quest. We're going to go into that in video 2, but I just want to I cannot tell you enough how rewarding this has been. And I hope that's what you have gotten from this. And I hope this encourages you to take a chance with this, because I was scared. I was intimidated. I was in my head that I had to do voices and I had to create an experience, and I didn't. I read stories. I encourage interaction. And it's so much fun to watch everyone get in their imagination. And you say, okay, you're in this clearing and there's people on the other side. What are you going to do? And it took a while. Our first few quests are clunky. We're a few quests in, there's still clunky parts. It's still sometimes hard to get them to actually tell me, not like, okay, give me these dice, but actually say, no, You tell me what you want to do and I'll pick which dice you're going to use. That's part of your job as a quest master, is when they tell you what their action is going to be, how they want to handle the situation, you decide what attributes that uses and whether they're strong in those or weak in those based on their character sheets, which dice they get, all that. But just, it's been so fun to play this game, to just escape reality, to get in our imaginations. And again, this whole game lives in your imagination. There's nothing visual to tell you, here's what this looks like. You just have to imagine we're in a clearing or we're walking next to a creek and bandits jumped out of the woods. What are you going to do? Like, it's all in your head, and they have so much fun with it. Again, I don't do voices. I don't do kind of crazy lighting experience stuff. We're not monsters, so we don't eat Cheetos at the table with our cards and stuff. Neither should you. Don't ever eat Cheetos when you're playing a game unless you use chopsticks, because that's the only proper way to eat Cheetos at any game table. But we don't do that experience stuff. We just sit down, we have a good time. I do my part as a quest master. I make decisions for the group. They tell me what they're going to do. I play it. But don't feel the pressure that you need to, again, create this magical experience, because it's going to be enough. Whatever you do, whatever you can do. And again, if you're theatrical, do it. If you can do the voices, do the voices. Kind of make a fool of yourself. I've had to do that a little bit, and everyone loves it. Everyone smiles, everyone laughs along the way. I'm getting more comfortable with it. The farther we get into it, the more I can kind of change my voice a little for the voices. But I'm working within my comfort zone and trying to stretch that comfort zone. But it has been so much fun, and I can't wait for more people to get this game, to experience this world, to get out of the board on the table, cards that dictate what you can do experience, and just open up your imaginations. So again, the reason I'm doing this video is because I'm honestly concerned that parents are going to get this game because they've seen the movie, because their kids see it and say, hey, let's play Quests of Yore. It's from that movie. Like, that's why we were interested in it first, as we saw it and we're like, hey, we love Onward. Quests of Yore has got to be awesome. But I'm worried that they're going to open it up and realize it's an RPG, it's not a board game, and it requires a lot of reading and prep work and studying and things like that. And they're going to decide, without even diving into it, that no, this isn't what I expected. This is too much work. It's not for me. I can't do it. And I assure you, you can. If I can, you can, because this is so out of my comfort zone. Being here doing this video is out of my comfort zone. I am a behind the scenes person, but I am so glad that I said, hey, I'm going to be the quest master for my family. I am going to lead them through this adventure. I'll figure it out along the way, because it has been so much fun and so rewarding. Again, every time we finish, the kids ask when we can do it again. So I figure that's a win. Whatever I'm doing is working, even though it's not the over-the-top theatrical version of quest mastering. So take a chance. You can do it. And the next video, I know this has been kind of just a high level of what it takes to be a quest master. In the next video, we're actually going to go into how to do all the stuff, how to do interactions, how to form dice pools, all of that, so that you can be pretty prepared. You're still going to need to read some of the Advanced Player's Guide, the first couple chapters, but at least as you go into it, hopefully reading it will be a refresher of what you learned in the second video that we're going to post. We will leave links to that in the description. I will put a link to it, a little pop-up thingy, once that video is posted, so click that. And while you're waiting for that video to come out, be sure to hit that subscribe button right here. You can watch our other videos over here, and hopefully around right there is the second video. And thank you so much for watching this. I hope you take a chance on this game and have an amazing time with your family. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.